Resilience is setting a trend for the WTTC summit in Cancun. Resilience in tourism is what the CEO of WTTC, Gloria Guevara, and Edmund Bartlett, the Minister of Tourism of Jamaica, are known for. Bartlett is the brain behind the Global Tourism Resilience and Crisis Management Center. Guevara's achievement is to pull off the WTTC summit in Cancun and to bring the leaders of the most influential companies together. Over time, she managed to find a way and connect the public sector in times the World Tourism Organization in Madrid showed tremendous weaknesses. Bartlett is a public official with tremendous influence. In this article, he explains how to promote a more resilient post-COVID tourism industry, and this may be setting the stage for the WTTC summit in Cancun. The Han Minister of Tourism Edmund Bartlett, a tourism hero by the World Tourism Network, has been able to see the world from a global, and not only from a local perspective. In absence of effective leadership in the World Tourism Organization, Minister Bartlett was able to often fill this void. With the upcoming World Travel and Tourism Council Summit in Cancun, leaders are setting the stage and trends necessary to guide the world in building the new normal for the tourism sector. It's irrelevant who is physically attending the summit, but the symbolic value is tremendous to inspire leaders to unite. WTTC is demonstrating global tourism resilience. It's expected the Cancun summit will be the continuation of an aggressive rebuilding process for the travel and tourism industry. Here is what the Han Edmund Bartlett wrote for the Jamaica Gleaner today and made available to eTurboNews. As a Minister of Tourism for one of the world's most tourism-dependent countries in the world's most tourism-dependent region, I am in a safe position to say that the current pandemic has presented the greatest challenge to the sector that I have ever witnessed. As a consequence of the various containment measures that have been introduced and sustained across countries, all of which have curtailed public assembly as well as domestic and international travel, the tourism sector, for the past 11 to 12 months, has been dealing with a historic crisis that it has been unable to respond to with any degree of confidence and certainty. Suddenly, all our previous gains as well as strategies, which had, seemingly, worked well up to a year ago, now appear inadequate to respond to the new demands of the post-COVID-19 tourism sector. This has certainly forced us to confront the important task of rethinking and reshaping the future of the sector head-on. Indeed, it is no doubt now imperative that as we look to recover and prepare for the future, we embrace new strategies, new orientation and a new ethos that will ensure that the tourism sector becomes more resilient, sustainable, inclusive, and competitive. The current pandemic has undoubtedly highlighted several critical considerations that must inform the future of the tourism sector. Recovery has become almost synonymous with resilience building. The sector needs to become more adaptable, resilient, and agile. Global Tourism Resilience and Crisis Management Center. This pandemic has presented us with a unique opportunity to transition towards a more balanced tourism, as it is anticipated that more international tourists will opt for resilient destinations in the post-COVID era. Importantly, the sector must find ways to answer the questions of how increasingly scarce natural resources can be prudently managed, and how economic growth can be aligned with the social and economic needs of local populations and communities, as well as the preservation of the natural environment. Tourism development strategies and practices must be increasingly designed with a view to promoting more resource-efficient initiatives that are in keeping with the aim of achieving sustainable consumption and production, which can be defined as the use of services and related products that respond to basic needs and ensure a better quality of life, while minimizing the use of natural resources and toxic materials, as well as the emissions of waste and pollutants. Overall, the thrust towards greater adoption of sustainable practices in tourism will require that all stakeholders in the value chain take full account of the sector's current and future economic, social, and environmental impacts, addressing the needs of visitors, the industry, the environment, and host communities. Build resilience. Destinations that fail to reorient themselves towards greater resilience in the current and post-COVID periods are likely to be left behind. The COVID-19 crisis is indeed a watershed moment to align the effort of sustaining livelihoods dependent on tourism to the Sustainable Development Goals SDGs, and ensuring a more resilient, inclusive, carbon-neutral, and resource-efficient future. Admittedly, among other resources, the hospitality industry uses substantial amounts of energy for providing comfort and services to its guests, typically with a low level of energy efficiency. Energy supply, vital for the tourism industry, is still dominated by oil products, which increases an island's vulnerability to the environmental impact of fossil fuel use, as well as to oil price volatility, which makes it difficult for the industry to remain competitive. Currently, the global tourism industry is responsible for 5 to 8% of all global greenhouse gas GHG emissions, including flights, maritime and land transport, hotel construction and operation, and air conditioning and heating. Tourism is both a victim of and contributor to climate change. Rising sea levels, melting glaciers, floods, avalanches, water scarcity, deforestation, biodiversity loss, desertification, wildfires, drought and diseases all hurt the tourism economy. However, tourism and energy need not be opposed to each other. With renewables, sustainable energy and tourism can actually complement each other. Understanding the volatile and difficult environment within which they operate, tourism enterprises must urgently come to terms with the fact that reducing the number of raw materials, energy, production, operating and disposal costs will increase a company's bottom line. Indeed, all waste represents a loss in profit and resources. Embrace sustainable energy. This requires that the sector embraces sustainable energy that is collected from renewable sources, meaning those which are naturally replenished, such as solar from sunlight, wind, water from rain, tides, waves, and geothermal heat. Natural resources to which many tourism establishments have access. Examples of renewable energy elements include solar panels, solar water heaters, wind turbines, biodigesters, fully solar-powered refrigerators, freezers, solar lights, and hydro systems. Other notable innovations in the area of renewable energy include solar air CONDIDIONING SAC, seawater air CONDIDIONING SWAC, and solar PHOTOVOLTAIACPV systems. Among the benefits of the shift to renewable energy are cost savings, better competitiveness due to reduced cost, reduction of carbon footprint, an environmentally friendly image for businesses allowing for new markets, an improvement on the quality of services offered to guests, and preparation for future problems, such as power outages and water shortages. Renewable energy is a cheaper and cleaner alternative in remote areas. Beyond the use of renewable energy sources, the adoption of energy conservation and eco-friendly practices will be required at every stage of the building and management process. This includes selecting an appropriate building site, using sustainable building materials, implementing green energy sources, and applying a natural design style. In terms of operational efficiency and energy cost reductions, more tourism businesses must embrace energy-saving technologies such as sensors, LED, smart climate control, embrace recycling, water harvesting, reduce plastic use, and increase reusable goods, such as reusable napkins, glasses, straws, water bottles, cups, linen, etc. While historically, tourism has shown a strong ability to adapt, innovate, and recover from adversity, this unprecedented situation requires new approaches and a strong multi-level response in partnership to achieve some of the loftier goals I have identified above. Policymakers, industry leaders, investors, financial institutions, and providers of innovative solutions will be required to collaborate more closely to ensure the required investments to build the infrastructure that will facilitate sustainable tourism and sustainable energy consumption in the tourism sector. Regional standpoint. Transitioning to sustainable tourism will also depend on whether the development of tourism is guided by a national strategy comprising policy, regulatory, and institutional frameworks, with sufficient incentives to stimulate the development of supply and productive capacity, where sustainable goods and services are concerned. This approach to sustainable tourism must also be considered from a regional standpoint as well, and should also incorporate strategies to address gaps in the supply side of the equation in Caribbean tourism. Therefore, Caribbean destinations need to take strategic steps to ensure that we retain more of the US dollars that flow into the region as a result of tourism. I would also like to recommend that other Caribbean destinations develop tourism linkages networks, as we have done in Jamaica, to enhance the synergies between tourism and other sectors, such as manufacturing, agriculture, and entertainment. Our tourism linkages network has yielded great success, and serves as a prime example of what can be achieved if a robust framework is put in place to strengthen linkages between tourism and other key sectors. The end result will be the development of a more inclusive tourism sector across the region, greater economic growth and job creation, as well as the retention of more of our tourism earnings. I also want to take this opportunity to again recommend that as a region we explore and implement strong multi-destination